When did you first realize that something wasn't right emotionally?
I didn't love myself. If you don't love yourself, it's toxic thinking inward, and inward toxic thinking basically causes mental health issues. When it became significant in my day-to-day, I realized something's wrong. I started Googling, and I'm like, oh my word, this is depression. You start to feel tired, hopeless. You can't kind of cope with normal circumstances. You don't look forward to specific activities. I just struggle to be present. It steals core memories, and it steals your joy, and it steals time with family. You know, you get these suicidal thoughts. It's just ended. You try to solve it yourself. I gave myself a list of checkbox just to tick, and then it will go away.
Did you go and see a psychiatrist and went on medication?
Yeah, and that helped for months, 2 or 3. But the interesting thing is you don't deal with the root or the hurt or whatever caused it. I just went back again.
What are some of the practical things that you did?
Based on a Christian with depression, I think it shows you that you've got value and the devil wants to take you out. Because when you realize that value, you're going to start walking in massive impact.
Sure.
And that's why I think if you're a Christian with depression, it only means you've got a lot of value. And the devil doesn't want you to realize that. I don't have that depression anymore. I feel joy. I have a massive expectation of the future. I'm so excited. The awesomeness of this journey is I was there.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to another Men's Wealth podcast. And today I want to introduce our guest, Peter. Peter, thanks for joining us. Peter is a husband, a father, a businessman. He's a data scientist at a large financial institution. So, Peter, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Thanks for having me.
And Peter's gonna share his journey on depression and just his personal journey on depression this morning. So, Peter, as a start, I want to ask you, when did you first realize that something wasn't right emotionally?
Yeah, Jan. First of all, I just want to say that, God really did a big work in my life, especially with mental health, and that's what I want to share and discuss with you today. And just to give him the glory and to start where it started was around 4 years ago in 2021. So just to give context, I never had depression or any mental health issues. So I grew up quite, a normal upbringing, primary and then high school and university, and started working. And after a few years of work, if I think back now, what happened was in 2021, first of all, if I can summarize it, I think it was a combination between we had our first child then in Jan 2021. It was quite a difficult birth. And I think there already maybe that traumatic experience caused some postpartum feelings. But if I remember the day, so I was working for a few years already then, but it was starting to get, I don't want to say quiet, but the projects, I was developing models and so on at a previous institution. And what happened was the manager that I reported in back then just said, okay, no, for now, let's just sit back. It's not a lot of projects at the moment. And just to summarize the feeling, so what I want to say with that is I grew up, especially when you study a professional degree, you think it's quite linear, your career. You start off as a junior and you do go through the projects, and it's quite a linear upward road that you walk in your career. And for me, what happened was it started to turn and just become quiet, and it was the expectations I had in my career just didn't realize. And after those years doing specific projects and stuff, I had a certain expectation, and then I just came at a point, but wait, it's going, the curve is going down now. And what happened there, I lost hope. So I think that's the big thing, because I remember that day when you said it. I just remember that sinking feeling of, okay, but what now? Because to take us a few steps back, in some previous teams, also had some negative experiences, probably that impacted some expectations I had. And just now, a few years, let's say 5 years further on, I just came to a point, but the expectation of that linear line, straight line, is not realizing, it's not here. And I think a sense of hopelessness started to brew, but very subtle. I think, if I remember the day, your shoulders drop, and but it was the beginning of the oil spreading in water. So I
So
think
just explain that feeling to us. How did it feel? Just maybe for someone listening, what was the symptoms, or how did it feel? How did you know something's wrong?
yeah. So from that day, and look, it's obviously probably a few experiences, maybe becoming a parent and it's big responsibility, and then having that disappointment of it's going slow at work. What about the next step? How's the future looking? All of those thoughts. So first, you kind of, it's a sense of hopelessness. So you lose hope, and that picture you had of the future basically it goes away a bit. But for me and my journey, so when that started, I didn't. It was an instant feeling at that time, but I didn't have any depression or symptoms at that point. It was a very slow, gradual progression on to go into the depression cycle I had, a few years back. So it was a slow, steady, slow progression from believing a lie that I don't have a future in corporate because I had certain expectations I didn't realize, and a sense of hopelessness crept in. Yes, we continued working and so on, but it's interesting how that one thought crept into my heart and my mindset, and I thought, okay, wait, the future, how does the future look? And then that it's very toxic thinking, so that starts to spread, and I only started feeling symptoms progressively into the year. So you start, so that hopelessness feeling kind of stays. Like if you think of a stain, an oil stain in water, it kind of stays there and it just grows bigger. And what happened was that it started to become more and more, and then the symptoms come. Usually that comes with depression. So, for example, you start to feel tired, hopeless, and you can't kind of cope with normal circumstances. So to give an example, in the mornings when you wake up, you don't have energy to start your day. And the other thing I remember, usually after work when we needed to do the bath and bed routine of the kids, I just struggled to be present. So you would sit there next to the bath and just stare at the towels because you really don't have the mental capacity to be present at that moment. So and that feeling just started to get worse. And as the depression grew, then obviously your symptoms also become more. So I think, and we're going to get to that, just some of the causes that I think that possibly caused that thinking back then. But for me, it started off small, and it took a lot of months or time to really become material and realize, listen, something is wrong. And it was physical symptoms like low energy, really. The analogy of, when you walk on a farm and those maggies just keep on following you. It was something that follows you, and it's just constantly in your face. And I remember, yeah, it's just difficult to get rid of it. And and the funny thing is, I didn't know it was depression. It took me 1 year to realize.
So when did you realize it was depression? Did you Google, or did you ask someone, or what happened?
Yeah, so when the symptoms became quite severe, let's say after a year or so, I was thinking, wait, this isn't, because it was still COVID times and life was a bit different back then. So I thought it was normal, I thought it was, yeah, it's quite quiet at work, circumstances changed. My expectation of the future was a bit rattled. But I thought, like, the way I'm feeling now this is not normal, especially when it became quite severe. Like, the only way you can cope if you lie down on your bed or on a couch and you're on your phone or for some reason. And then I realized, and especially you don't have, as they say, even if you Google it, you don't look forward to specific activities or let's say, for example, if you enjoyed reading a book, I didn't want to do that anymore. Even a movie, like you don't want to watch a movie or anything that you used to enjoy. And then I realized, okay, I'm really tired. I don't enjoy stuff anymore. Physically, I can feel it, like those maggies and my body. And I only feel some relief if I just lie down. And yeah, then I realized this is consistent. It's here the whole day. Something's not right. And I started Googling. I didn't know. I started my experience. Like, I remember, anyway, my reference of depression was when you were a kid in church, the dominee would say, actually, we're thinking of Tant, sorry, she's struggling with depression. And you would hear the word, but you don't.
You don't realize the impact of that.
But when it became like significant in my day-to-day, I realized something's wrong. And I started Googling. And I'm like, oh my word, this is depression. And then you faced with this new whole thing in front of you.
And then when you were faced with it and you realized that you might have depression, what did you do? Did you go and see someone? What did you do to work on the depression?
Yeah, initially you you try to solve it yourself. You Google a few things how to handle it. You try to just man up and say. I remember I told my wife, or I can't remember who else, that no, I just need to start exercising in the morning. I just need to do this. I gave myself a list of checkbox just to tick, and then it will go away. So yeah, and funny enough, obviously we the biology around it. If I went to gym after work, you would feel better afterwards because it releases those what's it, dopamine or serotonin, and those hormones, and you would feel better, but it just repeats the next day. So when I realized my tick boxes or my internal methods to try and solve this thing didn't work, I started to think like, okay, now what now? And you just reach out to, I would speak to my wife and say, no, I'm going to try this. You take control. And then in church, speak to some people, but it was very, and we'll get to that, it was on the surface. There was a bigger cause that I needed to realize and heal and basically get rid of the lie there. But back then it was superficial things that I just tried to tick to get rid of the thing, and it's just like those muggies. You can run, but they come back.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned, to man up, I think that's a big issue for a lot of men. We try and man up, and we think that the problem will go away. But the fact of the matter is it doesn't just disappear. A lot of times we do need help. So just want to ask you a question. So the people around you, your close friends and your family, if you think back, what would you, if I'm a friend or a family member of someone suffering with depression, what would you have expected or wanted from them? Just thinking of from a support structure. Is there anything that, thinking back now and still thinking, while you're working through this, that you would wish and you would hope that someone can help you with that?
Yeah, if I think back, obviously it's something you try and keep it close in the beginning. So for me, I would speak to my wife, but I had my tick boxes that I said, I'm going to solve this thing, because I didn't know of anything else to do. But if I think back, something that even where I'm now, the transformation I went through and the healing, and if I think back, what I would actually tell to my younger self is, if you've got a close friend or a wife or really someone in church that you trust, or a friend or a family member, ask them, what do you think is the cause? Like, for their input, so let them speak and say, but yes, ask you questions, try and go deeper to get to the root. Peter, why are you feeling like this? That's not true. You need that second voice to identify the thing you're feeling and the lie you're believing. So I would definitely ask someone to chat to me and ask me questions and try and pick up what goes on, and then go on to that, because you've got such a tunnel vision there. You're not going to do it on your own. You need that someone to speak a different truth to you at that moment, because you're quite in a big ditch. So you need that.
It's like this black hole that you're in. And the impact on your wife and kids?
Yeah, no, it was tough back then. Like I said, the kids were still young. Well, we had just so it started with our first daughter. So definitely, initially it was fine. As I said, it grew. It increased over time. But when she got older, and they're still young, so just being present my wife needed to take on a lot more responsibility because I couldn't cope. I didn't have the mental capacity, the internal feeling. There's just this feeling of hopelessness and yeah. So you can't. There's a lot on my wife, to do the night routines and everything else because she can see I'm just not present. I'm not there. So yeah, that was obviously the kids are young; they don't know what's going on, but that was difficult for me as well because everyone says, "No, enjoy your kids," but I couldn't enjoy. I struggled to enjoy them because you're not present. Meaning, you can play with them, but you're just trying to cope. Like, okay, just survive this 5 seconds and the next 5 seconds. You're basically in flight or fight mode, survival mode for months, years.
Sure.
So it steals core memories and it steals your joy and it steals time with family. It's a thief,
Sure.
yeah, and it lies to you.
And before we get to your just the role that your faith and your relationship with the Lord played in this, what are some of the practical things that you did, like psychiatrists, medication? Did you go and see a psychiatrist and went on medication?
Yeah, so as I said, it was quite a sequential journey. So initially, you Google all this stuff because you try and figure out what was going on, and when you realize, okay, it's this. Okay, what can I do? Exercise, do this. Try and my swimming pool was really cold, so I would just sit there and like, okay, my brain is kind of doing something, but it's just like on the surface. You would try everything. Like I had all these ideas, and then okay, after a while, you admit defeat and say, okay, no, this is not working. And then I asked a friend of ours that's a psychologist to just say, okay, obviously I can't go to that person. Who can I go and see? And they recommended a few people. And I went there and said, okay, this is how I feel, I struggle. And initially it was trying, I would speak and obviously they observe and would give certain inputs based on what I say and try to correct some mindset or give some advice. But, that's obviously a first step. But then I said, listen, this is not working. And then they put me on antidepressants. So this is probably in year 2 now, after a 4-year journey. And what that does, it's because you're not on medication in the beginning, that helps. That kind of boosts your mood. It brings the balance in your chemicals and so on. And that helps for months 2 or 3. But interesting then, if you don't deal with the root or the hurt or whatever caused it, I just went back again. So I said, I was so excited when it helped because after a year and a half, now all of a sudden I remember how it felt before the year and a half. I'm like, oh, is this how it felt to feel normal? You forget. You forget how it feels.
Sure.
And I was excited, but unfortunately, after a few months, because obviously that toxic oil was still spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. I can do whatever I want. If I don't clean up that oil, I'm not gonna.
And let's talk about that root issue. Do you think, or obviously there was a root issue causing or leading up to this depression, which I think for a lot of people, they can relate to that. So what was if you mind sharing, what was your root issue that you believe caused or led to this depression?
Yeah. Like to say, the depression was getting bad. Like, there were days I couldn't eat. I remember we were away for one weekend and I just sat there. I'm like, I just feel physically really bad now. Like I can't function. And you start getting afraid because you're like, one day when I get older, what is going to happen with me? I'm going to get very Alzheimer's or what? You start getting all these thoughts. So yeah, I got scared and it was getting bad. And even like, you get these suicidal thoughts, but let's just end it because you're suffering. It's terrible. So it really got bad. And then the Lord, so I saw myself kind of as the widow that hammered on the unfair judge. Because I was just like, hey, Jesus, please, I don't want to live like this. Please help me. And it was like really persistent. And then the Lord started to take me really on an awesome, powerful journey. And where I'm now today, where I was with the things I explained, it's a massive transformation, So firstly, it was, so there's two areas where okay, let me also speak about that. So I chatted to a friend in church, and he basically said, why don't you listen to Chris Volaton's Spirit Pause sermon? I don't know if it's one or more than one. And I also bought his book on his journey. So he's a big faith leader, and he went through basically the same. So in his 20s, mentally crashed, and he wanted to take his own life, and he had depression. And he's such a kingdom warrior today. So I read his book, and for the first time in years, call it, I started getting, I had hope for the first time in my life because I could relate to that guy. I said, well, I'm going through the same stuff. And it stirred my faith to continue this. And it was still a long journey. But the first thing, the Holy Spirit taught me was, I'm believing the wrong kingdom. Basically, how I see myself is based on all these negative, toxic thinking that the devil's saying, you're not going to make it. You're not good enough. You're worthless. And there was all these things that festered. And he said, but you're believing that. Obviously, there's only one way.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse. And the truth is that you're made in God's image. He hung on a cross for you because he wants to spend eternity with you. And and he wants to come live inside your heart. So, and that I wasn't this side of the track. I was festering here. And he said, Peter, you need to come to this side and start believing that you've got
the truth.
that you've got a wonderful future.
Yeah.
This is what I want you here, and I'm here. And that's where it started, where the lie started to break off. I gradually started to move to this side.
And take us further on that. So then, obviously, you're following Jesus, and I can just imagine, well, fighting this depression and fighting to get out of this hole. It must have had a terrible impact, or a difficult impact, on your relationship with the Lord. But ultimately, based on what you've told me and your testimony, is that the Lord just came and gave you a new hope and gave you a new identity and just reminded you of who he made Peter to be.
Yeah.
So just take us through that. Where was Jesus in all of this? Because I think a lot of times also Christian men, you feel ashamed. You don't want to share this because you're a Christian, and I should put up this smile and this front of everything's going well, but actually inside you're suffering. Just thinking back and thinking still while you're working through this is where's Jesus in all of this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you're right. So back then, it's difficult to have a normal relationship with the Lord because you're feeling depressed. So you don't want to open your Bible. You basically in desperate prayer the whole time. Please help me, please help me, please help me. You can't the Lord's my shepherd. You're not there where other people are. You're basically in desperation.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difficult part, because you're like, I'm a Christian and I want to walk in my purpose on earth, but I'm basically fighting these lies the whole day. I'm just trying to cope.
Yeah.
And that kind of steals, you steals everything.
Yeah.
You just, you're not there to hear. So that was difficult. It was for long. It was for months, to really feel, but, and that's why Chris Volaton's story gave me so much hope, because obviously, he's a big kingdom warrior, but he went through the same stuff. And that broke off some of the thinking that, but wait, I'm not worthless, and there's nothing wrong with me, It's actually, and if based on a Christian with depression, I think it shows you that you've got value, and the devil wants to take you out. Because when you realize that value, you're going to start walking in massive impact.
Sure.
And that's why I think if you're a Christian with depression, it only means you've got a lot of value, and the devil doesn't want you to realize that. So, to take you through that, so I started, that seed of hope was planted, but it was a kind of a journey. So to go to the site. So I remember having this this picture of a train track. When they pull the lever and the things switches to the other track. So I was on this track, and I just felt there was a certain period where I went onto the other track. But excuse me. It was quite a long journey. So I started reading those books, but I remember driving to just Mossel Bay. One time I was driving alone, and I had massive depression, and I would just realize, listen to podcasts and sermons and stuff the whole way, and I would pray. So it was still a very tough battle, but I actually listened to a podcast of John Bevere yesterday, and he said something profound that really made me understand, or snap what happened with me a bit better. So he said scientists basically prove that if people suffer together, they in trauma or whatever aspect, they form a very strong bond. So if you're in the army together and you do PT and you go to some area for war, you're suffering together. So you can be different people, but you form a very strong bond. Or you remember university, first year, it's different people, but you form a bond. So if you experience trouble and hardship together, you form a bond. And he basically then explained the importance of having a desert season with the Lord. Because you're suffering and going through a lot of trauma, it's not nice. But he's basically forming a very strong bond with you that will withstand the attacks of the enemy when you go into the promised land. So this area is actually so important. And that really, when I heard that, I was like, sure, that's true. Because you wonder, what's the reason for this depression?
Yeah.
And I can tell you I've matured exponentially. The guy I was in 2021 versus the guy I'm now is exponentially different.
Sure.
And that can only be with equipping and really detaching from those lies and really forming this strong bond with the Lord through this 4 year of absolute hell. I went to hell, and like I said, suicidal thoughts, you can't survive. It's absolute hell. To really forming this bond with Jesus to now be in a place of, so now, just to also explain, I don't have that depression anymore. I don't have it. I feel joy. I'm full of joy. I have a massive expectation of the future. I'm so excited. And for me, the awesomeness of this journey is I was there.
Sure.
I know how it feels to be completely depressed. You don't have energy. You don't want to eat. You just want to kill yourself. You have no hope for the future. And no one understands. No one understands. To going through this journey to say, but God loves me and He's got a perfect plan for me, and really feeling joy, being excited, expected. I don't have those feelings anymore. I don't have it because there was a lot of lives broken off, and the Lord healed that portion of my life. So, yeah, that was awesome for me. And just to understand that I went through that desert season with the Lord to bring me to this place, because now He can use me in difficult areas at work, in at church, because He knows He matured me, He humbled me. I know who I am now in Christ. Because the two big lies, the thing in my journey, and I also shared it at church, is I didn't love myself. If you don't love yourself, it's toxic thinking inward, and inward toxic thinking basically causes mental health issues. If you don't love yourself, your brain's there's no way it's gonna survive. Your brain's not gonna tell you, no man, you're fine. If you don't love yourself, your brain's like, this guy doesn't love himself. Hey, chemicals react. You're gonna go into despair. I realized that, if Jesus would hang on a cross to come and live inside of me, that means I'm made in His image, and He loves me and I've got value. So I started to tell myself in a good way, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself a lot. I love myself a lot. And when I started loving myself a lot, it just broke down that lie and that depression root of, Peter, you're not going to make it. You absolutely going to die a painful, horrible death, and you're screwed. That perfect love basically just completely healed that wounded me.
Sure.
And the second area, so that was area one, identity. I needed to know, and even now, if I feel overwhelmed, I would just say, I love myself a lot, and Jesus loves me like a lot, and that just breaks any expectations of me. Like we're such performance people. You will be 60 one day, you still need to perform to get to God on that mountain. No, He's already in you now. You don't have to perform. You receive, He's in you now, and you can make an impact now. You don't have to do anything. He's in you. He's here now. And that just broke down that law of performance. Like I said, that straight line I had. Because you could see old people, they're 60, 70, they still try to reach God there on the mountaintop. No. Why do you want to wait till then? He is in you now. You can go out of that truth now. You don't have to do anything. And that was a big thing to heal the lies of the devil. And then secondly was my expectation of the future. Obviously, I got negative. I saw people no, that guy's successful, that guy's this guy. So I started looking at various means of success. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to make it. What's going to happen to me when I'm 60? Am I going to be able to retire? Am I going to get fired when I'm 50? And I'm going to make it. So I started thinking, I'm not going to make this life. I was completely panicked. And basically the Lord, and he showed me like so many times in my mind, Jeremiah 29:11 from, I know the plans for you, give you a hope, a future. And he showed me the verse, and I was in the beginning like, Lord, it's a joke now, but usually women or ladies will put it on the Instagram bio with a lot of emojis, Jeremiah 29:11, you know, that's how I saw just
that's your picture of the verse.
Yeah, I thought like, yeah, Lord, everyone says it. And he just kept on putting it in my mind. I'm like, okay, after the millionth time, I'm like, okay, but there's a reason God is showing me, because he means he's got better plans for me in the future that I'm experiencing now. And that started to create the hope. Depression is hopelessness. You don't have any hope for tomorrow. So the Lord he started to tell me to love myself. And second, he started to teach me to have a hope for the future. Even if you live in Joburg, you can have such a great future. That's the thing. So he started to tell me, Peter, you've got such a great future ahead of you. And he created excitement. And I remember reading in one of Chris Volaton's books as well. He had some discussion with the Lord, or he wrestled a bit, and basically the Lord pressed on his heart and said, Chris, if you seek my kingdom first, I will always take care of you, always. I think. And when I read that, I'm like, that's so true. It says in Matthew 6:33, if you seek first the kingdom, all of these things will follow. That's mentioned before. And I just realized I don't have to stress if I'm going to have enough money if I'm 60, or if I'm going to have a job if I'm 50, or what's going to happen to me if I grow up to 100. If I continue seeking God and put him first and just really believe that he's for me and not against me, I'm really going to enjoy my future. I'm going to have a powerful future, and I can be excited. And when you think like that, it actually destroys the devil's plans for you. Because now you're saying, wait, I'm so excited for the future, and it's going to be awesome. And it creates expectation, because we study and we go, school and university is like kind of upwards, but if you work, it's so open. So some people make it, some don't. But to go in terms of like, and then they lose hope. And to go and say, but the Spirit of the Lord is in me. He created me for a purpose, and I believe it because I'm his child. And he created me in his image. And he says, if I seek him, he's going to take care of me. Then I get excited about the future. So now I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. A lot more excited than anyone else. And basically that took away the devil's power to say, I'm not going to make it. And you know how that manifested at work? Like I struggled, obviously, if you believe all these lies and stuff at work, it shows. Like you struggle. And when I said, okay, because you measure, like at work, you measure your performance back to your value. And when I went through the journey, basically, and started just knowing that, there's going to be growth, he's going to put me in place, just to create that expectation of excitement. It started showing immediately at my work. My title didn't change, nothing changed, but my work just started to flourish.
Sure.
It went well. I got very good ratings. My projects and my models were the best of the best. And I'm saying it just to show you the power of agreeing with God's kingdom. It's nothing I did. Before that was terrible. And when I said, I'm agreeing, God loves me, I love myself in a good way, and I know that I've got a bright future ahead of me. Boom! It started showing in my work. Sure. Same work, same place, same team, nothing changed. But there was just so much victory. It's like this kingdom I'm agreeing with, God's kingdom, just smashed everything away at work as well. So my work just started to flourish. And that just showed me like, it's true. If I seek God first, he'll give me everything. He knows in my heart I want to succeed in work. And he knows like, wow, Peter's really after my heart. Like he's beating this door here. I'm going to give him more. This model is going to be the best one ever developed.
Sure.
And that really, so to summarize, Johan, really to yield my heart by me loving myself and realizing the devil's lying, but even the long kingdom, and also that to create the expectation of the future. To say, I don't care if you live in the year 3000, you've got a good future. Don't look at the other stuff. You've got a good future. And that created hope. And those things completely unlocked or broke off the yokes and the chains of depression. So that enabled me to wake up normal, to have a normal day, to have so much joy, to be present with my kids, to really just
Oh, to
have
be
a
the
normal,
to be the man that God called you to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's somebody my journey. And but I think for me the big testimony is in, I was at the lowest of lowest. Many people are like the suicidal thoughts. You can't cope. You're basically just on survival mode. To the cycle of knowing God loves me, He's got plans for me. Yeah, it's still tough and stuff. What I mean is, if it gets difficult or someone says something to you, but I've got God equipped me. I've got the truth now. If something tough happens or I feel down today, I just tell myself, listen, I'm made in His image, and I just remind myself, that I'm completely healed. And that just gives me that hope again, and I continue. So there's no more battle still, but I can function in truth. So yeah, I just give God the glory for that, and that's what I wanted to share. It's just from lies that you're gonna die, to truth, to you've got such an awesome future ahead of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure, Peter, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your story, and I really think and I believe it's a story of hope and encouragement for any man struggling with depression, and also for other people listening, for other men listening, just to really support someone that you know who is struggling with depression. So Peter, thank you very much for your time, and I truly believe that your story and your testimony will definitely make a great difference in other men's lives. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Thanks for having me.